Greetings, campers! Welcome to the world according to Yoni. For those of you who may have forgotten, my name is Yoni Martin, and I will be your host as we go through this debacle of humanity. I don't know how to say this, so I'm just going to come out and say it. I am really, really pissed. Now, for those of you who have been watching the show or listening to it, sorry for those on the podcast version, I know it's no surprise that I'm pissed, because I get pissed a lot these days, and who doesn't? There's a good reason for it. But today I'm particularly pissed, and while there's a wide range of reasons why, let me explain some of what's going on. First of all, the other day, I think it was Tuesday night, if I remember correctly, these days are all kind of rolling into one, my wife fell down the 3 steps from downstairs to our living room, and she sliced her hand between her 4th and 5th fingers. It goes straight through. It's gory, it's grotesque, and incredibly painful for her. What we didn't realize at the time was, because there was so much pain and so much blood from her hand, was that she had a pretty serious concussion and bruises all over her body. I mean, she's got a black eye, and it's a mess. Now, if this was just a stupid accident, okay, these things happen. But the reason this happened, and it's the second time since we've lived in this hellhole of a house we live in, it's happened, is because we have a banister that wobbles. I mean, it literally wobbles back and forth. And we've asked our landlord, as a matter of fact, the day we moved in, and we had to go through the list of things that we saw that were wrong with the place, we filled this out and told our landlord that the banister wobbled and needed to be fixed. And when my wife fell down the stairs and couldn't grab the banister and broke her hip and her pelvic bone, we told him then. That was November 28th of 2019. Okay, here we are in 2021, almost the end, and it still hasn't been fixed. So when my wife slipped and reached for the banister, it went out, she couldn't grab it, and she fell. So I took her to an urgent care facility the next morning, who did nothing for her except charge us, of course, and then sent her to the local hospital emergency room. Okay, so we went to the emergency room, where we spent 7.5 hours waiting. And she was, believe it or not, in what they call the fast track, meaning they thought she was serious enough they needed to get to her as soon as possible. 7.5 hours. Also, I wasn't allowed back with her, which during COVID one can understand, except that the waiting room, they have a sign outside, you must wear a mask in the waiting room. And they have a COVID or a potential COVID section, and then all other sections. There's nothing dividing them except about 10 feet of space. That's it. But even more so, in the hospital emergency waiting room that has the sign that says you must wear a mask, people were wearing their masks under their noses, which, as my sister-in-law likes to say, is about as effective as wearing a condom with a hole in it. Then some people didn't even wear a mask. Well, they wore masks in, but then they took them off. This is a hospital emergency room, waiting room. Who knows what germs are floating around there? Anyway, getting back to my wife, they took her back. She was back there for hours, and she never saw a doctor, which was the whole purpose in her being sent to the emergency room. Never saw a doctor the whole time. All they did was put some butterfly stitches on it and refer her to a plastic surgeon who specializes in hands. Unfortunately, we can't see him until Tuesday. Today is Sunday when I'm recording this. So what does she get to do in the meantime? Well, she gets to take a lot of pot gummies because, of course, they don't give you prescription drugs in the waiting room, in the hospital emergency room, in doctors' offices. Why? Because, of course, everybody in America is a drug addict, so that if they give you a Percocet or Vicodin, you're going to become addicted and you're going to die. That's there's no gray areas in this country, especially when it comes to medicine. It's either black or white. It used to be that they gave you Vicodin or Percocet like popcorn at a movie theater, but not now. Now you have to beg and plead with them to give you one goddamn pill in the emergency room, which is what they gave her. I am beside myself. I am so angry. I am angry at the medical practices in this country. I am angry at our landlord who knows this is a problem and has done nothing to fix it in the 2.5 years we've lived here. My wife is currently in bed sleeping, doped off her ass on the legal things we could give her, because sleeping is the only way she's not in agonizing pain at the moment. So yeah, I am really, really pissed. But let's go beyond that and see what else is pissing me off at the moment. There is a meme floating around Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and it's dead on. It's dead on. You know what it says? It says Susan McDougal was put in jail by the Republicans for 18 months. Why? Because she refused to testify against Bill Clinton in their witch trial back in the 90s. Okay. The Republicans thought for not testifying, she should be put in jail for 18 months. Well, gosh, how about Steve Bannon? How about all the Trumpites who are walking free after saying, hey, fuck you, to Congress in the January 6th commission? There's nothing being done. Why? Well, in my not so humble opinion, because our Democratic leaders seem to think that being in the right is enough. Guys, it's not. It's not enough to be in the right. You don't know how to message. You don't know how to explain things to the people like the Rethugla QAnons do. Man, they can bullshit till they're blue in the face and everybody goes, oh, yeah, that makes sense. That's right. But it's not right. It's bullshit. And if the Democrats don't get off their fucking asses and learn how to talk to the people, to get their message across, messaging, it seems simple, doesn't it? And yet the Democrats never seem to learn. And of course, I know we're not supposed to infight within the Democratic Party and criticize, because God forbid we criticize our own for not doing what they should do. But I'm criticizing. And here's something that led me to the critique, okay? This was something that somebody posted on Instagram that I responded to because it really pissed me off. And I'm going to read it to you verbatim so you understand, okay? It says, You voted for Biden, but now and you're spelled Y-O-U-R, no apostrophe R-E. I hate that. That really drives me crazy, especially that somebody who considers themselves a Democrat would do that. But anyway, you voted for Biden, but now you're unhappy. I'm sorry, folks. Truth is, liberals jump ship every time the world doesn't shift axis fast enough for them. It's only been 9 months on the job, but Biden hasn't fixed racism, inequality, poverty, or the climate fast enough for you. With what? A fucking Harry Potter wand? It's been less than a year. On top of all that, I have heard over and over from liberal talking heads in media that we have already lost the 2022 and 24 elections. What the fuck is wrong with you? Shut the fuck up, asshats. Liberals discourage or divide blue voters with their fake impatience and outrage. Conservatives encourage theirs with fake fear and hatred. Both out of touch with reality. This is what somebody posted. And they didn't write it. They just copied it and posted it from someone else. I didn't realize that at the time, but this was my response. I'm a proud liberal / progressive. I have been for every conscious moment of my 66 years on this planet, and agree with everything you said, with the exception of trying to paint all liberals with the same brush. Making generalized statements that paint everyone the same way is a Republican methodology. What you wrote, minus the generalizations, proves you're smarter than that. Please don't categorize and then paint everyone in that category with the same brush. You're obviously better than that. Okay, that wasn't too insulting, was it? I mean, I said they were obviously smart enough to understand some things. But what gets my goat, and what I think is complete and utter horseshit, is the fact that she's blaming liberals / progressives. Really? I voted for Biden. I'm not criticizing him for not doing enough over the past 9 months, although in truth, I would have liked to see more executive orders issued. And there's the one line that really, really bugs me. It's where the person who wrote this says, we discourage and divide blue biters with our fake impatience and outrage. Well, I hate to tell you, there's nothing fake, impatient, or fake about my outrage. My outrage is real, and it's justified. Because the truth is, the Democrats are not doing enough. Not President Biden, but the entire Democratic Party. And I understand we're fucked in the Senate because Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema are assholes. They're not Democrats. They're not even blue dog Democrats. They're Rethugla QAnons wearing the label Democrats. I mean, both of them are getting their money from Republicans or Republican backing organizations, like the coal industry for Joe Manchin, and in Arizona for Kristen Sinema. Well, she's being supported by the right wing there, because they know all she cares about is Kristen Sinema. She doesn't give a shit about the country. So yeah, in the Senate, we've got a real problem. But in Congress, there's no excuse. There is no excuse that Steve Bannon is not in jail. There's no excuse that every one of those pricks who were supposed to testify and refused to testify is not currently behind bars. I'm sorry, that's my belief. That's how I feel. And I think I'm right. Remember something. The Democratic Party, instead of saying, this is who we are, we will not let our principles be moved, have moved over the past 30 plus years ever to the right. And why has the party moved to the right? Because the Republicans keep moving to the right. The Republicans have moved so far to the right, they're now a fascist party. Unfortunately, the hierarchy of the Democratic Party has also moved far enough to the right to be what we would have called Republicans 20 years ago. So for those of us who have remained where we were as liberals / progressives, as we were 30 years ago or more, seeing our party go to the right and allow this shit to happen is beyond infuriating. We all know what Trump did on January 6th and before January 6th. We now know that the Republicans in Congress were briefed on what was going to happen. They knew, except maybe Mike Pence, but the rest of them knew. And what's happening? Very, very slowly, nothing is happening, or the progress is so slow we can't see anything happening. And we don't know what's happening within the DOJ because they don't tell us. Guys, we've got a problem in this country. We've got big problems in this country. And if we don't act soon, because 2022 is almost upon us, and if we lose our majority in Congress, we're fucked. I'm sorry, we're fucked. This country is going to go the way of Nazi Germany in 1933. We're already about 1932, I'd estimate. So yeah, I'm pissed. What else is pissing me off? There's this wonderful commercial being aired on television. Now, the Republicans always come up with these great names for these right-wing organizations that make them sound like they're for freedom and they're for the people, but it's a lie. And in this particular commercial, what they're telling us is how bad it would be for seniors if the government takes care of Medicare, does what it's supposed to do, negotiates drug prices for pharmaceuticals with the pharmaceutical companies. Well, I'm speaking as a senior citizen. That's a lie. That is point blank a lie. Right now, Medicare is not allowed to negotiate drug prices with the pharmaceutical companies. So if Medicare was allowed to negotiate and to say, oh no, you can't charge us 10 times what you're charging the Canadians or people around the world in the country that not only is developing these pharmaceuticals, but where millions upon millions of tax dollars are being used to help private companies with research and development for these pharmaceuticals. It's beyond me. It's beyond me. The political right, who are usually wrong, lie. They do nothing but lie. I haven't heard a truth spoken by a member of the Rethugla QAnon party in, I can't remember how long. And those who would tell the truth are shutting up because they know that if they tell the truth, they're going to go the way of Liz Cheney. Now, far be it from me to want to defend anybody in the Cheney family, but my God, Liz Cheney seems to be the only one on the Republican side of Congress who will actually tell the truth. So if that isn't something that blows your mind, I don't know what will. Here's something else that bothered me because nobody in this country is talking about it, and I don't understand. Because this is news. It's news the way, black people being killed by racist police is news, but we hear about some of them. We don't hear about everything. Okay? But this isn't even America. Listen to this. Germany, which you should understand is a country that is still paying money to veterans of World War II, meaning Nazi soldiers are being paid, or their families are still being paid by the German government for their sacrifices during World War II. Well, some of you may not know that Germany has also paid reparations to Holocaust survivors, to German Holocaust survivors. It's not a lot, but it's something. It's been a little bit of something, okay? So that's good. And I keep being told how Germany feels such guilt still for what happened during World War II. Well, this story proves that obviously they're not that concerned. There was a woman named Amira Gezow, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but for lack of anything else, excuse me, my throat's going again. Ms. Gezow received every 3 months from the German government a check. It mattered to her. It wasn't much, but it mattered to her. It meant something to her. She had worked to get reparations, and she'd helped other survivors secure theirs. Well, Ms. Gezow, a German-born woman who lost both her parents in the Holocaust, was receiving these checks. It was $240 for every 3 months. That was what they were giving her. But at least it represented, a certain amount of accountability, a tangible admission of fault on the part of Germany. Great. Not that $240 every 3 months makes up for their murdering her grandparents. And okay. She died recently at the age of 92. A few months after her death, her daughter, Alet Gezow, received an unexpected letter from the German government. Now, Ms. Gezow, the younger, lives in the United States. But she received a letter from the German government. It contained the following calculation. Amira Gezow had died 2 months into her most recent 3-month disbursement period. So Germany wanted the last 72.5 euros or $240 back. They wanted the great-granddaughter of those they had murdered to give them back $240. Now, Ms. Aylett expressed shock at the audacity of the message. Then she sent a message back to the German consulate. She said, quote, "After you killed my grandparents, you expect to receive this money out of my pocket?" End quote. The German consulate in New York City was obstinate about getting the money back. When she called seeking an explanation for the letter they had sent, demanding the money back, Gezow says not only was she brusquely rebuffed, they started yelling at her over the phone, saying she was stealing money from Germany. She said the following: "You would think with the history there'd be some decorum, some sensitivity, something. There was nothing except greed and avarice and a demonstration that the German government doesn't give a flying fuck that they murdered 6 million Jews, I don't know how many millions of gypsies, homosexuals, people who disagreed with them. This is insane. We are living at the end of 2021, and we are living in an insane world. That's all I can say. I mean, that's it. That's all I can think of. So if anybody's wondering why I'm ballistically angry, angrier even than usual, these are some of the reasons why. But wait, because there's more. the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court of the United States, which has been allowed to pack the court with right-wing ideologues who don't give a shit about the Constitution of the United States or the laws of this country. They are in place and were put in place because they are ideologues who will do what is politically expedient for those on the right. That is why in 2021, we're going back to the 1800s in terms of women's rights. How many laws are there telling us men what we can do with our bodies? Because last time I looked, you have all these Republicans saying, I don't have to take a shot, vaccination for this COVID thing. It's not real. And God knows what's in the vaccination. Hey, do you know what's in Kentucky Fried Chicken's secret recipe? Do you eat that? I mean, come on. Jesus H. Christ. What the fuck? By the way, some of you may notice I'm particularly foul-mouthed today. That's the level of my anger and my frustration and why I'm recording this show on a day I don't usually record the show. Anyway, no, they don't tell men what to do with their bodies because men wouldn't stand for it. And who controls most of this country, especially the right-wing led states? Gee, mostly men. And then, of course, you have the Lauren Boeberts and the Marjorie Taylor Greens who believe in rights for themselves, but no other women. So, hey, fuck them. I also want to talk about a gentleman who, on the Stephanie Miller show, is referred to as Dr. Doom. But his real name is Dr. Erwin Redlener, and he is an infectious disease specialist. He says the Omicron variant, the White House wants to control the spread of it by travel bans and increased testing. He also says that's not enough. Nobody should be allowed to board a plane anywhere going to any destination without being vaccinated, plus being tested before departure. Forget useless travel bans that exclude Americans. Omicron already has spread to the United States. Time to mandate vaccinations and COVID testing before boarding any plane to any destination, domestic or international. This should have happened a long time ago. That's what Dr. Redlener says. And I agree with him wholeheartedly. I still wear a mask. I wore a mask the entire 7.5 hours I was in the emergency room, waiting room, while people around me were taking their masks off or down under their noses, and nobody in security said a thing about it. You can go shopping. 3/4 of the people are not wearing masks or wearing masks under their noses. I know that at least half, if not more, of these people are not vaccinated. But nobody seems to get it. Nobody seems to care. And I'm sorry, but even some of you, my progressive and liberal friends, are so tired of COVID and having to wear a mask and not go to restaurants or do things that you are doing things. You're going to weddings and bar mitzvahs and parties and events all around the country, while we still have this unbelievably deadly virus spreading. Guys, you got to wake up. I mean, it's bad enough that we have to deal with these assholes on the right, but when liberals and progressives and Democrats are saying, yeah, I've had enough. I'm vaccinated. I got my booster. I don't need to wear a mask anymore. Wrong. Yes, you fucking do. Should you be going to parties where there are 200 people? Not unless you're fucking insane, or not unless you have no care for what happens to those around you, people you seem to think of as friends, relatives, whatever. Wake the fuck up. Other things that are driving me out of my gourd. Things like, I don't know, Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota having her life threatened via a voicemail she received from an apparent supporter of Representative Lauren Boebert, who, they don't quite get along. So Representative Boebert has likened Representative Omar to a suicide bomber. Really? Because she's Muslim? Really? Gosh, I guess that makes the right-wing people walking around with guns and shooting people terrorists too, huh? How about that? But the message that was left for Representative Omar said, I would love the opportunity to take you off the face of the fucking earth, you Muslim piece of shit jihadist. We know what you are. You're a fucking traitor. You will not live much longer. I can almost guarantee you that. This is what the right wing in this country is stirring up. This is the kind of person who supports them and who they in turn support by encouraging their racism, their hatred for no reason, and their ignorance. If we don't stop this, if we don't punish people like Boebert for really inciting violence, inciting violence, where have we seen that happen before? Oh yeah, Washington, January 6th. By the way, it wasn't an insurrection. Those people were terrorists. Say it with me, terrorists. Because calling them insurrectionists actually doesn't go far enough. So there you have it. Come on. Tensions in Congress have been running high to begin with all year, starting with those January 6th terrorist riots that were encouraged, shall we say, by Mr. Twitler and his supporters. They were all in on it. We know this. We have video of this. And yet, justice proceeds at a snail's pace. Representative Paul Gosar, who is a walking, talking excuse for mandatory euthanasia, got away with posting a cartoon on social media that basically threatened the life of Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Has Gosar paid any real price for threatening the life or, posting something threatening the life of a colleague? I seem to recall a comic named Kathy Griffin posting a picture that, of Trump's decapitated head, bloody, and basically the right wing and even some of the left wing in this country ruining her career because she had the audacity to do that. But elected officials to the highest bodies in this country can do worse and pay no price. This is the America we're living in as we prepare to enter 2022. If you're not scared to death, if you are not freaking out, and if you are not angry as hell, beyond angry as hell, if you're not furious, you're not paying attention. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why I'm sitting here not being funny and not really laughing at anything I'm just saying, making jokes or doing the things that I would really rather be doing. I can't. Because this is serious stuff, folks. And our democracy is hanging on by a thread. So that's really all I have to say today. I'm hoping that before the end of the year, I'll be able to do a broadcast that maybe has something cheerful. Maybe, you know what? Maybe for my next broadcast, I won't even talk politics. Fuck politics. You all know what's going on. So maybe for the next one, I'll talk about something completely different. I don't know. The joy that Stephen Sondheim's life brought me. The joy Mike Nesmith and the Monkees brought many of us. This has been a great year for the Grim Reaper. It's like he's working overtime to get as many wonderful people out of the way as he can before the new year starts. I don't know, is there a quota? Anyway, that's my show for today. I'm sorry, I really am. But I am living in a state at the moment of perpetual anger. And I really wish it wasn't this way. Anyway, join me next time because I promise I won't do any of this. I'll talk about something positive even if the world is falling apart around us. Just so that we can help usher in a new year with something potentially positive, okay? In the meantime, I sign off with my usual. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Care about each other enough to do what needs to be done, which means be fully vaccinated, continue wearing a mask, don't get together in large groups. And whereas I usually quote Billy Joel by saying, don't take any shit from anyone. This time I'm going to end by saying, don't take any shit from those on the right. They don't care about you. They don't care about this country. They don't care about anybody other than themselves. And you know what? A lot of them may not realize it, but they don't even care about themselves. So it's up to you. It's up to me. It's up to all of us. I was going to say, have a great week, but I don't know that everything I've said today can lead to that. So stay cool, stay cooler than me, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.